and this is the Happiness Tribe, episode 57, AI Literacy When Reality Bites, Part 1. Thank you guys for showing up. We'll be doing a little bit of um, taking care of some things in house as we get set up. So thank you, Julie. Can someone let Julie up? Please raise your hand. Julie, one of our special guests and the only AI trained social worker. Hey, Claude, how you doing? Thank you for showing up. My buddy, business partner over there in Marseille, France. Hello, Guy. Hello, Ronald. Hello, Dr. Miller. How are you? Hi, Faith, Youssef, and Yodit. How you doing? What you doing down there, Miss Yodit? Get up here. Hey, Miss Kim, take over while I do some maintenance in the background here, please.
Okay, this is super exciting. I'm seeing some old friends that I haven't seen in a while. What a super Sunday. Yeah, good to see you and welcome, Julie, Dr. Julie, Michael, Miss Jody, Dr. Gwendolyn. Super nice to have you, Miss Paula. And our guest, it's a special podcast. Very nice to see you, Mr. Guy. We are in another platform with Mr. Guy, and he's a very passionate advocate for EdTech. So he supports our work very much, and we do appreciate that. Claudie, welcome. Dr. Ron, welcome. Ronald, welcome. Chris, welcome. Faith, welcome. Yusuf, and our very own Dr. Ayu. Good to have you in the room, Dr. Ayu. How are you doing? Yeah, this is a super podcast, a very special one, which I'm going to give the mic to Miss Judith. I'm sure she'd love to introduce the topic. We all know where AI is biting us. So over to you, Miss Yoyo. Thank you.
Miss Yodit, Sister Yodit, can you hear us?
Yes, hi, good afternoon, everyone. My apologies. I was just looking for the unmute button.
Welcome.
It's hot here
We get it.
in
It's super
Gaborone, Botswana.
Yeah.
Yes, it is hot, but my name is Judith Mulusi, and I'm chatting with you from Gaborone, Botswana. It's been exciting times here in this great Southern African nation. We've just witnessed the arrival of a brand new government, and it came with a lot of peace, which is something that I am very grateful for and very proud of. So yes, that's me. The topic this afternoon is very interesting, again, even on a personal level. Understanding AI and how it can help and support you, whether it's on a professional basis or in your private capacity, is critical, and it's becoming increasingly important that we all understand, one, the role that it plays, and two, just the tools that are available for us to utilize. So the subject this afternoon is going to be exactly that. What is it? What is this AI? And how is it that we can use and utilize it to improve our lives, no matter where you're sitting? And for those of us who are a little bit older, who've managed to go through our professional lives without having to depend that much on technology or with the basics, now find ourselves in a situation where we have to really embrace it fully and accept that it's here and it's here to stay, and appreciate and understand how do we use it? How do we keep up with our children and ensure that they are safe in their use of technology because they don't know anything else, which is very important for those of us who are parents, uncles, aunties, grandmothers, etc. But even in our personal capacities, as those of us who haven't really used it before, there are great benefits to it. So this is an opportunity to learn from folks who've been utilizing and championing AI for many years. I myself am very excited to hear what it is they have to share with us this afternoon. And I'd like to invite those in the audience to please take advantage of this opportunity to speak with people from different backgrounds about AI and how they've used it for themselves. So thank you once again. And thank you for allowing me to greet everyone at the beginning of the show. Enjoy.
Thank you, Ms. Yoda. Really appreciate that. Again, hello, Selassie. How are you doing? Dr. Gwendolyn, how are you? Thank you, audience. So I am Dr. Ross, and that's RAS because I am really a scientist. I am a neurotrauma endocrinologist. I study traumatic brain injury and reproductive hormones and how we can use that to improve neurogenesis or the regeneration of brain tissue after trauma. Within that, I'm also a STEM educator or more STEM to stream, science, technology, research, engineering, arts, and mathematics with a focus on entrepreneurship. And I am Jamaican made and American raised. So we have, with that, I have a lot of ambitions to understand not only our culture in these different areas that I mentioned, but also the technology which has taken over the world. So it's important, and we thought it was important to have a discussion on AI literacy, just the basics, right? Because everything that we know from personal and professional life, whether that's health, finances, relationships, skills, it incorporates, and you're going to need AI to survive in the future of the world. So I think this is a great topic. And so we've divided episode 57 and 58 into two. This week, we'll be talking to the more senior, experienced individuals. And then next week, we'll be talking to the younger folks because even though it's impacting the whole world, we may have different perspectives. But the point I want us to get across and the take home message is that regardless of your age, you have to be proactive. At the end of the day, if you remember nothing else, remember that. So, with that being said, I would like to introduce the guests if my fellow hosts don't have anything else to say before we begin, but I'll let them speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Roz. So blessed day to everyone here, to my teammates and to the extended family. Thank you for visiting with us today. As Dr. Roz explained, my name is Marjorie Paula Norales. Just call me Paula. I am a resilience farmer and I am a development strategist. I am part of the Happiness Tribe, and it's an absolute honor to be here today. I'm excited about this conversation, where we can take it and what we can learn from it. And please, everyone in the audience, you can contribute to this conversation. This is what this is about. This isn't any legal advice or anything as such. This is just a conversation between family members. Welcome. Thank you very much. And let's enjoy the show. Miss Sally?
Thank you, Miss Paula. Selassie, do you want to say hello? And then next, Michael, then we can start with our guest.
Good day, everyone. I'm Selassie from Ghana. I am an accountant and as well disaster expert. I'm I also champion youth development in Africa. I am part of the Happiness Tribe, and I'm looking forward for this conversation.
Would Michael, he's also a guest, but I guess you can speak from the technical digital streaming side, our media person. Michael, would you like to introduce yourself? Thank you, Michael. And so, yeah, um, Michael is also, he does a lot of the technical work as far as the streaming of the Happiness Tribe show here, and is part of the Happiness Tribe. So thank you for that. And also thank you for being a guest today. And we'll be speaking specifically about the AR, augmented reality side of AI. Our other guests are also some very good friends and colleagues of mine. And I first one up I'd like to introduce is Dr. Gwendolyn Lavert. How are you, doctor?
Good morning. I'm doing exceptionally well today. Thank you for this opportunity.
You are welcome. Can you just say where you're from, Dr. Gwendolyn, and what your discipline area of study is, please, as it relates to.
Okay, it's an honor for me to be here today. I am a literacy and leadership trainer, author, and advocate for educational transformation with a global perspective. And so I live in the US, outside of Dallas, in the suburbs of Dallas, Texas.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gwendolyn. And now we'll have our third guest is the wonderful Juli Nixon. Julie, can you introduce yourself, please?
I am so honored and glad to be back with the Happiness Tribe. My name is Juli Nixon, and I am the only AI certified social worker in the United States. I am a professional social worker by education and training, and went and received my AI policy certification back in 2023 when I first started this journey. My goal is to make sure that everyone who is represented on this call and other calls like it are part of the conversation and know that AI exists and have the choice and knowledge that they need to make use of these tools instead of being made use of by these tools.
Wow, awesome. This is going to be an exciting show. We might go beyond an hour and a half. So thank you all. And the reason I have these three guests here because they're not only standout professionals in what they do, but when we put this show together, I wanted to hit some specific areas. So I would like to start with Dr. Gwendolyn because she focuses not only nationally but internationally, has been well trained in AI literacy specifically. So I want to start with that. And then we will get into speaking of the AI and social work side, and then we'll get into the augmented reality with Mr. Camp. So, Dr. Gwendolyn, can you tell us a little bit more about your background, education, and training, please?
Well, today I wanted to take you on a journey through my experiences and share expert insights into the future of literacy, the transformative role of AI in education, and how professionals can enable AI into every area of teaching and learning to thrive in this rapidly evolving world. Um, so, part of my role has been to train leaders and teachers so that when I'm walking into classrooms, I can observe, I can provide feedback, or model for teachers and leaders. And this helps ensure that they have the tools, the confidence, and the support to enrich the learning experiences for our students. So, the most important thing I think that I'm going to say today is that there is a literacy crisis, and what does it mean for AI in education? So today, and I'll say this and then I'll stop, but the world is currently facing a literacy crisis that cannot be ignored. According to UNESCO, over 770 million adults and young people lack basic literacy skills, with a significant number of these individuals residing in low income and marginalized student communities. And this is where I have spent the majority of my career, in high poverty, lowest achieving schools. And so my goal has been to turn them around. For the last 3 years, I've been a principal of a low performing school in a high poverty area. And because I presented a blueprint to turn the school around, we were able to do it in 1 year. But we just didn't do it with face to face. we used technology to help us. And so later I can tell you more about what we did. So the implications of this crisis is very profound, impacting economic opportunities, health outcomes, and overall quality of life in the US. Recent reports have shown that nearly 2/3 of the overall 4th and 8th grade students do not read at proficient levels. And this gap raises a critical question, I think, and I think you will agree. But how can AI play a role in bridging this divide without leaving everyone behind? And if it's not everyone, the marginalized children behind. So I'll stop right there.
Well, thank you for that, Dr. Gwendolyn. And so what you mentioned, you're talking about the U.S., right? So
No, I'm talking about I'm talking about the world.
This is global. Those are
This is,
global.
UNESCO said that there are over 770 million adults and young people that lack basic literacy skills.
Okay, so now, and the point I want to make here is, so if this is global and we're thinking about literacy, now, is this AI literacy or is this math, English comprehension? What are we talking about here?
We're talking about comprehension. We're talking about early literacy skills, which includes phonics, phonological awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. And that transfers into math and science and social studies throughout the curriculum.
So I hope everyone hears that. This is so important because, while we're focusing here on AI literacy and the changing of the world, before you even get to that, we're talking about the basics of literacy, right? We have an issue with, so that's an important point to then tag on top of that, now that we have to deal with, get them up to being literate and being able to comprehend normal conversation, mathematics, physics, science, and then taking all of that to then understand what's happening in your world, but then to be a professional in that world. We are way far back. So it's important that, this thing not only affects what you're doing academically, but it also affects you mentally and physically. So let me slide over to Miss Juli Nixon for a bit and talk to me about AI and social work. But before you get to the AI and social work, just the social work and our community, what's going on there? Miss Nixon, are you?
I don't know. It looks like Dr. Roz.
Oh, okay, she might.
Go ahead, Dr. Roz. I'm sorry. I thought you fell
Go
off.
ahead, Miss Paula. Okay, I think I'm having audio issues. Can someone take over?
Certainly
Sure.
can. So go ahead, Grace.
No, you go ahead, Paula. I thought you were on mute as well. Go ahead, you guys.
No, I'm not, but we're jumping in for each other because the signal, we're having some technical difficulties across the way. So Ms. Julie, thank you again so much for being here. What Dr. Roz was asking is, oh, did we lose her? Oh my, okay. So something is going on. Anyway, as Dr. Roz was saying, I think he was asking Julie to speak about literacy across the board. You're back. Come on up, sister. Can you answer the question? Did you hear Dr. Roz's question? I don't know what's going on. Can anyone hear me?
Yes,
Is it
we
just my
can.
audio?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
There we
Okay.
go. I heard talk about the social work aspect first. Does that sound correct?
Yes.
Okay. I will tell a short story to illustrate the point. My very first AI conference was Voice and AI back in September of 2023, which doesn't sound like a long time ago, but this technology moves very fast, faster than we do as humans. And I was sitting in a session that they were discussing the future of work and AI. And one of my old professors from an Ivy League institution was in the audience, and he raised his hand and he said, "What are we going to do about the people who can't even read past a third grade level? They're never going to be able to get up to speed with AI." And as a social worker, and as the only social worker who was at that conference, I was a little bit shocked at that assumption, because many of my clients have been people who are functionally illiterate, who are still employed, who are still making bank transactions, who make sure that their children go to school every day. The assumption at a higher level and in the upper echelons, as it were, is that people who do not have formal education and formal literacy will be completely left behind with this technology. My clients used to use technology better than I could, whether they were literate or not. My goal is always to make sure that we show how accessible this technology is, while we also bring people along with us. If they have wins where they are more likely to want to further the educational process in a personalized way. AI helps people personalize their education, and using social work skills to meet people where they are and bring them along builds their confidence and builds the ability to learn about these technologies and also use them in a way that is safe individually and for us as larger groups of people. That is always my hope. And also it is my hope that this technology does not kick me off again.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ms. Julie. We appreciate it. I'm sorry. I apologize. That was hilarious. It keeps kicking us out too. So yes, so here's what I heard from you, and please clarify. Are you saying that in the larger scheme of things, and when it comes to literacy, are you saying that literacy or the lack of literacy in underserved communities can actually be changed, reversed by the use of AI? Did I hear you correctly? Because this is
yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
I was in another session where the head of a nonprofit organization in Washington, D.C. told a story about her own child who was, I believe, first grade age at that time and had been diagnosed with dyslexia. And this child was not able to read despite all of the school level interventions. This nonprofit organization head was able to use a personalized AI intervention, and her child was reading within 3 months.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So here's my follow-up question to this, because I think when we look at AI literacy, we look at the basics of AI, we consider this something so elevated or so sophisticated that the people who are unable to read would have a hard time catching up in the digital divide, so to speak. So your statement, your perspective, your experience in this matter is really it's eye-opening to me. Now, I'm a grandmother, I'm a mother and a grandmother, and I am 58 years old, so I'm almost 50 years old. The concept of AI to me was so, at first I thought it's so unnecessary. I don't need that. Why do I need that? It won't make any difference in my life. And what I've found since my engagement with AI on multiple levels is that it's become such a valuable tool for me in the work that I do, both as a farmer and as a development strategist. Speak to us about those of us who maybe a little middle-aged, maybe a little more mature, and how we can interact with this technology and what the benefits, some of the benefits may be. Julie, thank you.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I will tell another story because that's what I do. I provide AI literacy education to individuals and organizations. And when I am in either one-on-one consulting or in workshops, and I see the light of aha comprehension come into someone's eyes when they realize not just how easy it is to start using AI tools, but also to help demystify, help make sure that people aren't afraid of it so they can then use it, is why I get up in the morning, honestly. I am almost 50 years old, and I started using AI last year. So this is not years long process yet for me, but I know that I will never be the same, and I will always use AI consciously for the rest of my life. The picture you see on my LinkedIn is how I wound up getting involved in AI in the first place. This picture is not me. That picture is AI. And I've never, and if you look at my posts, you'll see it's true. The actual pictures of me that are on my LinkedIn posts, any picture of me that's a real, not AI picture. If you see too much gum, that's me. If my eyes are closed, that's me. I do not take good pictures, but AI helps make my pictures look somewhat like me and also look presentable. I was shocked and started to wonder, what else can AI do? My LinkedIn headshots, my social media headshots, I can be found across many social media platforms at Social Work Expat, EXPAT. I have made and helped other people make books using AI and keep their intellectual property while making and publishing their books. I have helped people make clothing lines. I have helped organizations come up with an AI policy for their organization that makes sense, not just for the people who are working in the organization, but also for the people that they serve. And I help teach people that if you have a cell phone that is connected to the internet, you can use AI tools. You do not have to know how to spell correctly. You do not have to know how to type. You do not have to have the ability to type. If you can speak or in any other way interface with a computer program, you can use AI and you can use it to your benefit.
I'm blown. I'm just, I apologize. Go ahead, Dr. Oz.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm going to open the floor for the panelists up here to ask additional questions. I can imagine some of the questions that we may have at this stage. So, Ms. Sally.
Can I ask some
Mr.
questions
Yodit,
I heard?
Yes,
I'd
ma'am,
like
please
to,
go ahead.
I think we've not heard from, oh, she was dropped, Dr. Goodwin. Okay, I'll ask Michael as one of our speakers. I think we all know we're such big fans of AI and we see how automation has helped us. I'd say currently it's been, I mean, usually as responsible citizens, I think it's very normal for us to get anxious when we're going through elections and what's going to happen, who are we getting? And especially a case of Botswana. This has been very, very unique because this is the first time that the founding party has lost elections in 56 years. Was it 56 or 58 years? Which is a bit, little bit unusual. When I researched about it, I
58.
saw 58 years, yes. So 58 years in power. The first country that ever did that in Africa was Sudan. So this speaks volumes. And for me to nurse my anxiety, guess who has been my friend and my very, very close friend? AI. Currently, I'm actually constantly monitoring on the US results, rather the US elections, asking AI, what do you think is going to be the outcome? What's the worst that could happen if this and that happens? What is likely? What are the manifestos of a particular party? So now I found myself, especially where within the change within Botswana, the new government has come up with a lot of people that we don't know, which is quite exciting because we used to, I think it's global, where we have usually our ministers are people in their 50s, in their 60s. So of course those are people you know. But then when they bring the 30s and the 40s, we don't know them. And that was very exciting. So I picked the proposed lineup for ministers. I put it on my AI tool and I said, can you give me the ages of these guys and what are their accomplishments? And do you think they are super aligned with specific ministries they've been assigned to? Of course, it was particular to see who is going to be the Minister of Education, Minister of Health, Minister of Finance. Those are very critical ministries that really, it speaks volumes on where we're getting to. And we always want to know, is it going to be better? Are we heading to better times? And those are some of my constant use cases on AI. I do a lot of my strategies. This is sort of my AI tools are my business partners. I'll think about something and I'll get on an AI tool to see, is this aligned for this market? And what can I do? Can you give me a SWOT analysis? What can I do to make this better? And I have a lot of tools that I use. But now here is my question to Michael, knowing that we would want you, I know you're a genius in this space, and we would want you to teach us because we are in the business of creating awareness. We're talking about AI literacy. And would love to make sure that everybody in the room, whoever is not using, can we do a show of hands? Who is using AI tools? Let's start with that. Be it ChatGPT, be it Sana. Oh, great. I see. Oh, we only have three. Be it Gamma, any AI tool that you're using that's making your life easy. Mr. Guy Harris, you're not using any AI tools? Lisa, you must be using some AI tools. So anyway, these first this brings in what I've seen as a trainer on AI. There's a lot of fear. I've seen some of my age mates or younger people than I, actually a lot of younger people than I, that are still sitting on the fence and very skeptical. And there's obviously the big concern on sometimes, okay, humans, we don't like change. And we know the only constant thing in life is change. So we see, I don't know it, I don't want to know it, it's going to take my job, so I'm out of here. I'm not going to get into understanding it. So my question to you, Michael, how do you see AI changing the skills that professionals need in most of the common industries? I won't even talk about your industry, but the most common industries, and what specific skills should people start developing to stay relevant in this anti-AI driven world? We find we have a lot of old schools. I've seen a lot of medical doctors. I actually have seen my very accomplished lawyer friends who are not using AI at all. And it actually sort of just bothers me. I go like, how do you get your work done? Because I can't imagine life without AI. I don't even know how we functioned without it. It's only been 2 years since we started actively using these tools, but it's such a game changer. I'm not working, I'm not spending as much time as I used to working. This is the first weekend that I saw myself having a nothing to do day yesterday, and that was bliss because the tools are just going to automate for me and do work that used to take me a week. Within a few hours I'm done. So Michael, please tell us and educate us. We want to know, what are those skills that we need to get? What should we be, especially with the transition of professions, what exactly should we be on the lookout for? Thank you.
with, with that being said, I'd like two things, Mr. Camp. Can you, one, go into the generational learning labs and how you're using AI to join the generations, maybe the audio, video, book stuff. But then I want to open it up to the individuals on stage and the audience to really, I want you guys to come up and talk about AI and actual your world, your experience right now, because we want to hear from real people. So please raise your hands, come up on stage and tell us your maybe first time or why it's been good or bad for you. We want to hear from the audience and the crowd. So thank you. Go ahead, Michael.
Can I just 2 minutes give my contribution on that? And that's adding on Michael, your learning lab. I'd love to encourage all our listeners, our guest speakers. There's so many free tools for adapting, learning, and keeping up with the pace. And we all have different styles of learning. Like when there's a new topic, I follow the thought leaders from that space. So I love podcasting. So I will do my podcast that I'll invite speakers who are very smart in that space, or I'll get online and follow other guests or other podcasters that are focusing on that area. Because also this is a very dynamic space. But besides that, like what Michael has, this learning lab, like all the big five, Google has come up with a lot of AI courses, BMS the same, Microsoft, literally Facebook, everybody has a whole lot of free courses that you can get online. I'm happy to drop some on the message section. And if you have others, if you're also creating some courses, please do. But it is so much about, it's a mindset shift. Literally, it's just a mindset shift. The minute you tune your mind to, I'm going to learn and understand what this thing is. And then you just start small with some tools that you can use. Then you find it just becomes your second nature. It just flows seamlessly. I think, Dr. Russ, we have quite a number of speakers on stage, but I still have one more question for Dr. Julie, and I think she's been dropped. Okay, I'll mention my question and then she will tell us, because I like it that she's in the space of social workers, and currently there's a huge concern if we don't create a lot of awareness and train people, the gap the gap is going to get wider, especially within our marginalized communities. And I see that's where Julie is focusing on. It can be this thing that we've created now becoming a monster. Because as you see it, it's getting a life of its own. So how can we enhance the creation and the outreach that then nobody is left behind? And I'll be selfish, speak for my space. I'm in the education sector, and it's a big concern within the continent. We're trying to do a lot of teacher training, encourage them, do a lot of outreach campaign. And I'm very happy to see one of our alumni, Zamzam. Zamzam, you should come on stage and tell us what you've learned and how you're using AI as one of our former university students. So Julie, please tell us, just give us some few tips on how can we collectively, in the spirit of Ubuntu, can we make sure nobody is left behind? I'm not sure if Julie is having technical challenge.
Let's see. Is it any better this time?
Yes, we can hear you.
There we go. One thing I say on my YouTube is that if I can use AI, anybody can. Because if I can't get the mic right, and I can still make websites and books and help organizations come up with policies and help people get from being fearful and thinking that AI is going to take their job away to learning to create tangible products as well as technology products, anybody can do it. Now, I am very much encouraging every person who is on this call right now, or if there is a replay, who hears this replay, bring up AI in every organization at every opportune time, because this is moving so fast that we will be left behind if we do not talk about this and use these tools and learn to create tools ourselves. And whether it is by design or whether it is a whoopsie, I forgot, we will be left behind if we are not organizing together, talking one to one, hand to hand, brain to brain, and spreading this knowledge and helping dispel the fear that a lot of, even in my own family, people are afraid of these tools that have been in use for most of my children's lives. My children are in their early 20s, and artificial intelligence, as we know it, has been used on the industry side for decades. It is 2 years this month since generative AI has been unleashed upon the public. And just in this 2-year span, to see the growth that these models have had, we desperately need organizations that are pushing forward AI literacy along with digital literacy. If they can either be folded in together or have digital literacy organizations bringing on AI literacy as a component of that, we desperately need that. I will finish by saying that I woke up from my sleep one day back in, I want to say, March of this year. And the saying that came into my head was, it is like they have a flamethrower and we don't even know fire exists. We desperately need organizations and grassroots collaborative efforts to teach us how to use these tools, not be fearful of them, and also so that we have a choice in how or if we decide to engage with AI. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Julie. That was so powerful, and I really want to appreciate and thank the guests today on today's show, because these individuals are actually out there doing it, and I invited them because of the work that they're doing. It needs to be spread outside of the region that they're doing it, because it's all about networking, and this is, like you said, is very vital for the future. So with that being said, we do have individuals now that has come up that we are in different rooms together. That's the ecosystem. So
Hey, Dr. Rice, if it's okay, can I just ask Julie one more question?
oh, go ahead.
Yes. I just, I first of all, Julie, I'm a great fan of yours, and really admire the connection that you have found between the world of technology with AI and syncing that into the human nature of things, the mental health side, the human side, in so to say. So I think that's a fascinating move. And I also want to add to what you said earlier, from the world of occupations and, the job markets and so on, it really, I want to just emphasize how important it is to take it up on us to discover what AI influence is within our individual occupations, right? So that I think that's very important as well. But one and in that in the same token, I want to ask you this question also. Um, as I mentioned, it has a huge influence in each occupation. And one occupation that I found out most recently is the mental health side, and it's through this app called Character AI. Character AI is basically a conversational, I'm going to put this in quotation here, guys, a conversational therapist, if you will, an AI therapist. So you ask a question and it gets back to you with answers. Now, I don't know if you heard about it, if you know about it, and what your thoughts are on that.
That's now AI getting to another level. Miss Nixon, are you there?
Oh, it seemed like her
I think her network.
network is, yeah. Yeah, so I just thought it was very fascinating. It was just another proof of how AI is really influencing each individual occupation, and how it is affecting us. And at some point, if we want to advance in our own professions, I think we have to take the initiatives to kind of look into it and kind of see how it affects us, and how it changes our individual occupation. I know I can speak from the recruiting side and the job market side, how it really is affecting multiple areas there as well. We can wait until Julie comes back up. I think she's having technical issues here, and I can ask her that question again a little later.
But
Maybe.
may I jump in?
Sure.
Hi, Zaga. It's nice
Hi.
to hear your voice.
You too.
I wanted to ask you a question in terms of how it's impacting your line of work, and whether you think the impact is equally positive and negative, and or negative. Is it negative or is it all positive?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure that there is some downside to it, and especially when it comes down to eliminating some of the work that needs to be done, which makes it at the end of the day, it's a good thing. However, for people who have been doing that work, and maybe a good example that I use is sourcing, for example, or the task overall each day that we do as we source, it eliminates that. And so there are, those resources can be used in other ways. But yeah, whether it's in resume writing, I think a lot of it is positive, but also if we don't use it correctly, it can be very negative. I always tell my candidates, like, if you're writing your resume, for example, using AI, it's another way of outsourcing that work. You're outsourcing it to AI. But if you outsource it to AI, or if you outsource it to a person, either way, the story is still yours. And what AI generally will do is it's going to refurbish your information, basically. It's not going to use information that it doesn't have. So it's in asking the right questions and having the right things in your resume that is key. So please, I encourage people to use AI. At the same time, just understand that it doesn't know everything about you per se. It gives you a professional resume. And the other thing is, when it comes down from the recruiter sides, recruiters are filtering now much heavier using AI. And when that happens, you have to keep in mind that the keywords may not be in there in that resume. So I often find myself, if I'm looking for some candidates, I have to go back and look what my system has rejected as not a good fit, because maybe there is something that AI has missed that was not not in the resume, but the candidate could be indeed a good fit. So I still go back after AI and glance at these resumes. Are they indeed not a good fit? So there are different aspects on how it is. And those are just two examples. There's a line of examples that I can go through, from writing job descriptions to writing responses, all these quick responses that you normally have, whether it's thank you notes, whether it's, and those goes both sides, whether it's from the hiring team, whether it's from the candidates. So I hope that answers some of the questions. I think the negative is in not using it consciously and not being aware of the changes and pivoting with it.
Thank you, Zaka.
And just to add on that, I think I'm happy you mentioned that, because let's not look at it as the holy grail. It has its pros and cons. And I'm sure so far we're experiencing the cons, especially when you talk about security, cybersecurity. Now it's gone to another level. But we have a lot of guests who have been waiting. Unless Dr. Ras, you have something to say, would you want me to start mentioning the guests to
Yes,
share
if
their
you
views?
can just acknowledge the audience and then have the guest speak, please, that would be great.
Thank you, our listeners. Super, super awesome to see you all. Welcome, welcome. And please, we're having it very casual today. We want to hear your thoughts. How are you using AI? Are you sitting on the fence waiting for this wave to get off and get back to life as we knew it? Which that's not going to happen. I don't see that happening. At some point, we thought it's a bubble that will burst with time, and nope. And also, just to appreciate that this is not new. It just with the language learning models just being a little bit new. That's what has hyped the whole AI thing. But I'm a trainer, and we've been teaching on AI, I think, for more than about 15 years now, because we do a lot of training on coding, robotics, artificial intelligence, machine learning. And that has helped us expose a lot of children and youth within the continent. I think the first person was Miss Sherry. Sherry, please get the mic on and share your views. Are you using any tools? Are you training? Do you want to be trained? Tell us what you're doing and where you are from, especially on the skill side. What space are you in? Thank you.
Mabuhay, aloha, everyone. Dr. Ras, Miss Kim, Grace, Marjorie, and Selassie, thank you for sharing the space with me. I am a secondary science teacher and a primary elementary school teacher in the inner cities of Seattle, Washington, in the USA. And my question is, what are some practical applications that we can apply for AI? My biggest concern was during the pandemic, we learned that accessibility for all. Oh, and Gladys said, it's a pleasure to have you here as a host. Sorry. So my question is, during the pandemic, we learned that not everyone had accessibility to your basic devices because of the problem with the broadband tech. And my question, I'm sorry, I'm just so happy I'm asking you this question, because this conversation is very important, and I wonder what kind of interventions and collaborations we can have so that we can reach all of our students. Thank you.
Can I quickly share my view, especially coming from Africa and what we've done? So yes, we're still struggling with our infrastructure. That is, as a continent, let me not put it forth in isolation. So within COVID, we learned the power of smartphones. We trained children just using smartphones. And guess what we realized? We have about 96%, that was 2023 statistics, 96% smartphone penetration within the continent. So if mommy has a phone, your sister has a phone, you're going to use that phone. And guess what we did? But then AI was not quite a thing. So we used a lot of Google Classroom. We also taught kids how to send voice notes, create their videos, to make classes more entertaining and more fun. Now, with where we are at with AI and us being in that setup of educators, we use like projectors. You can go to school and project and teach 1,000 children with one projector. And then we also use a lot of project-based learning and hands-on, where kids create. You get them involved. We've seen children in Africa, especially from marginalized communities, not get so excited about the shiny, nice robots you're going to ship from China or from Europe or from wherever. They're not interested in Lego. They want to create their own, which is quite amazing. So, guess what we do? We buy tools and we use recycled materials. As an organization that is also very particular on ESG, taking care of our environment, sustainability of our projects. So we've taught children, let's recycle, let's reuse. So they bring broken bicycles from their homes. We look for motors, which gadget has a motor inside, has a sensor. Where can we get an Arduino board? Those are circuit board. Those are such precious tools to us. So we collect a lot of those, and children are able to be super innovative using them. Then, of course, peer to peer teaching has really helped. And then within the project based learning, they come up with solutions for problems existing within their communities. So we give them a task, they create. And once they get the ownership of that, you're not just teaching them tech skills, but you're also teaching them soft skills because they're going to learn how to problem solve, collaborate, communicate, and think critically. And if I think there's one thing globally we're having a shortage of is problem solvers. If we can get more problem solvers, more critical thinkers, we could solve a lot of our global challenges. Because then we can create our own employment. We don't have to all queue and get employed, or wherever we work, we could be more resourceful, we could be more productive. So I'd put those as some of our best practices. I don't know if within the speakers anybody wants to add on that as we get to the next person, who I think it's Margaret. And I hope that helps you, Sherry.
Oh, yes, Ms. Kim, thank you very much. Innovation is very important. I'm from the Philippines, and uh, where education gets us out of poverty, and the innovations you were sharing, sustainability is key. So I do appreciate what you were sharing, and I believe that will help our multilingual students. I myself, English is my third language, and AI has assisted in the phonics uh, part. I just really wanted to mention that. So thank you kindly for having me here.
You're most welcome. I'll drop in the comment section some of the tools I use. I have a very good tool that I use for creating courses because we're constantly creating. It's actually called Mini Course Generator, but I'll drop the link. And I also have Gamma AI that helps me, especially personalize reports for children or get them to do their own reports. And then, of course, we use project management tools that are very much now AI enhanced. Just but to mention a few. Anybody with AI tools you're using, please put them on the comment section. I think the next person is Margaret. Margaret, you want to share with us your best use cases, or are you sitting on the fence?
Hello, Miss Kim. Nice to see you, Grace, Gladys, and Dr. Ross, Marjorie. And I see that my best friend Selassie dropped off, so it's okay. Network issues, right? It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. I've had events for this, introducing, implementing, and how to safely use it, right? And one of the things is that number one is the human touch, right? We have to keep reality on life first and foremost. I'm going to speak on both of the positive, and there is the negative, right? Because in life, just like lightning is created with both positive and negative charge, they do exist in everything. So to strengthen communities and human connections, the social impact, language translation, and my wonderful friend Gary Rand, who's not here, is implementing and using AI and creating a program for mental health and suicide awareness and help. We also have to have, and how to implement those AI ethics, right? We have to have ethical use of AI, because the unethical use of it, the lack of privacy, the government and legal regulations, the policymakers have to implement those laws, right? Because public education and awareness and educating that, it can empower the people and recognize and do all those things. So we have to have audits and accountability. That has to happen. Fake news, disinformation campaigns, violations, weaponizing. You can even use, this for really bad. And let's face it, we have the good and we have the ones, that are not so good. There's an agenda, right? And we have to be realistic. But I do want to highlight our awesome, our great scientist, Henry Stevenson Perez, and his team, the SKMRI group that work, for children. And in him, putting in the comments that the AI machines are always regressive. They only refer back to the past and already digitized literature that is constantly updated by TikTok and other social media feeds. He also goes to say, number two, that it has been programmed not to seek the truth. They simply escape content from the internet in about 1 in 1,000 of a second and present the for sale wrapped in the people pleasing algorithm. And number three, the AI machines have no long-term memory. And, this is going to go back to the human touch, right? Because they cannot care about you. It can tell you what you want to hear. So if you want it to be your friend, you can ask it to be your friend. But if we live in a reality world, it's not your friend. Okay. We have to be realistic. And this is where we cannot lose the human touch, because if you start seeing a machine, a tool that can be beneficial to humanity in the right ethical use and not manipulative, then you won't lose that. We have to be truthful about this. We have to be honest. We can't just paint the pretty picture. Come on. We're humans, right? We're humans. We can't just speak, oh, AI is this and AI is that. AI is a lot of things. It can be a lot of things. So can we. Look at us humans. We can be both, right? And so this is why it's important to have an honest discussion. AI ethics need to be in place, and I know that they're working on it. I have a really good friend that is working really hard to implement these AI ethics, and bring them to life. Because right now there isn't any. Right now it's not regulated, but if we do the audits and the accountability, the regular third party audits, it will ensure that the AI systems are used ethically, safely, and holding the companies that are bringing this so that it's not being abused, because abusive people, abused people will abuse people. Okay. We have to keep that in the forefront of our minds. So if we want to really, use this for good, yes, we can. And yes, we should. Yes, absolutely 100%. Do I use it? Absolutely 100%. I highlight people. I elevate people, humanity. But at the same time, I know there's other people over there doing the fake news. I know that they're over there, hurting people and trying to, there's cyberbullying. They were just having an event yesterday about cyberbullying. So we have to be and speak about everything, the weaponization of the AI too, you know. But at the same time, like I said, I have a really good friend, Gary Rand, who is making this because he's for suicide awareness and prevention. And he's going to build this AI to do that. And that's where it begins, right? You have to build it and you have to do this without fear, because us as humans, AI is not, it's fearless, right? AI doesn't have those things. It doesn't have the capability of thought or fear or care or love, but we do. So we have to power that. I think, it was brought to us for a reason. And you know how old it is? Do we know how old it is? Early 1800s. This has been an evolution that has come down from the 1800s through science. Okay, through science. And so, and science is my number one because it's broad, right? The scientific of education, the science of biology, the science of the mind, the science of even emotional, us. And us as humans, we have to put us first, right? And I believe and I know that we can do that. I know in truth we can do that. Thank you so much for your time.
Dr. Ross, over to you. And thank you very much. Thank you, Margaret. Yes, I think ethical issues, those are they're concerns. And I think we've all seen suicide cases. They're children who have killed themselves by having these AI friends and then tell them to just do some stuff. And I think it's like everything in life, we need to be very smart on how we approach it. There's good and there's the bad of everything. So it's important for us to be super aware and also to hold policymakers up to their task. And even within organization levels, as we wait for governments to roll out these policies, we need to make sure we're ethical with how we're using AI within our companies. Collectively, we will make the world a better place. Thank you. Thank you, Margaret.
You're
I
welcome,
think
Ms.
next,
Kim. May
you're
I say
welcome.
one more thing? I don't mean to interrupt. I'm so sorry. I usually never do that, but I do want to highlight that in the audience is the beautiful, amazing Helena Banner. She's a generative AI that I'm going to have her event later, but she uses her music to help her with her mental health, and she creates her music with AI. So I can't wait to do that. But I wanted to highlight that this is how she is using it. Thank you so much for your time. Have a lovely, blessed day.
That's super cool. I actually liked them. I think there are a lot of people that are coming up with apps or tools for mental health. So there's still so much good. I mean, especially within the continent, we can't even begin to talk about farming. We're now farming using AI. We're using drones. There's just so much in our medical facilities as well. There's so much we can leverage on with AI and have tech for good in practice. I think next we have David. David, please join us. David Pushkin. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Good evening, morning, afternoon, where everybody is. I mean, AI is it's a subject. Now, for myself personally, I'm using it because I'm somebody 5 years ago who became visually impaired. So I'm using AI for various things. I'm currently using Be My Eyes, which is an excellent tool, which you could basically they have an AI option where you can literally point it at something, take a picture, or tell you what that picture is. And I think Ma, when Ma was talking about that, we were talking about, an ethical use of AI. There is the good, know, Scary Smart talks about this. The book that's, I believe, by Mogadat talks about this. Yes, there are good use and practical use, and there is poor practical use. If it will feed, if you feed it the correct things, it will bring out the correct things. Just two questions, I'd say, just for myself as somebody who's likes accessibility and is into support of neurodiversity. I've got two questions. So my first question is, in regards to AI, where does the panel see this helping to engage those who are neurodiverse and those with disabilities? And Ms. Kim made a very good point. We're talking about, Africa, and I know Celeste's from Ghana, and how would you say, or would you say the future is of the global South in regards to AI? My personal opinion, and then I will yield the mic, is I personally feel that the global South is being washed as far as the narrative. We're told, Africa, China, all the other places, they're not superior or they're inferior to our global North colleagues. And I just totally don't believe that's the case at all. I think there's a lot of really good innovation coming out of Africa, China, and our global South as a whole. So again, what are my questions again, just quickly, is what is the panel's thoughts on AI in regards to helping those who are neurodiverse and those with disabilities? And what is the panel's thoughts on the future of the global South in regards to innovations in AI? I'll yield the mic. Thank you.
Very good questions. I'm just going to give I'd love to answer especially your second one, because I'd like to show off a little bit on what we're doing in the continent. Or Miss Jody, do you want to take that up, or Miss Paula or Miss Gladys? But who knows Africa better than we do?
Actually, Miss Kim, I think you should answer that question because you've been working in this space for so many years. Please answer. Thank you.
Okay, then somebody will answer. I'm sure Dr. Raz would love to answer the first question on neurodiversity. So yes, with your second one, and I hope I got it clear, David, you're asking what exactly are we doing within Global South and how are we looking into positioning ourselves to compete with Global North in the AI space, right?
Yes. Your repetition of my question is correct, and I appreciate your insight on this. Thank you.
You're welcome, and I love this question. So we've just elected a 54-year-old president, a Harvard graduate, a top world-class lawyer, as our new president in Botswana. And I think so far, gosh, let me try not to get political because that's a topic I love. But it just shows that Africa is woke. This is big, that we are so much stuck with the colonial founders. It is so difficult, as you know it, to unseat a ruling party that has been there for decades. But this showed me a new dawn for the continent. And if you've watched it, we have quite a number of, I think about 4 or 5 countries in West Africa. There's Mali, there's Senegal, there's Sierra Leone, there's Guinea. There are a few countries that so far they have super young and intelligent presidents that are doing some amazing work. And this gives me a lot of hope and faith. Now, when you talk about within our communities, especially the use of AI and how we're promoting, this is what we can actually say, still water runs deep. We have the media portraying our slums, our poverty, our shortcomings, and not talking about all the amazing things that are coming from the continent. Which for me, the still water runs deep was very, very, it was such a strong testament on how we did the elections in Botswana. I mean, it was just 2 days, the country was very quiet, everyone was very peaceful. And within 2 days, we have, boom, a new president, no noise. We didn't expect that. It was so shocking. And you know it, in some parts of Africa, we love drama. We fight, we kill each other. Election time it's not a very easy time for us, this anxiety. Of course, Botswana has always been a very peaceful country. We're not expecting much drama. But still, this just shows there's a lot of progress. We have respect for the rule of law, there's democracy. And these are some of the things that you find stabilizing us. Currently, we are having so many workshops and awareness campaigns coming up with policies that are going to guide us as we get into the AI space. One of the biggest challenges we're facing in the continent is data centers. As you know it, when we're talking about climate change, global warming and stuff like that, and at the same time, we're moving so quick into AI. I see a lot of progress. Remember, we are the youngest continent. 60% of our youth, 60% of our population lies within youth, that is under 35. And the projections are by 2050, we're going to have 50% of the world's population will be from the continent. So think about that. And guess what would that be? Young people. So we love looking at that as our greatest potential. That is our goal. The fact that we have these youngsters, we have youth that are willing to work, that are willing to do the job. So this is why we are quickly transitioning our countries into knowledge-based economies. Now, we are very much of agriculture people within the continent, and we have seen within the villages, I think one of the countries that have done extremely well is Malawi. There's a lot of utilization of generative AI chatbots that they're using that make sure from just communication, they have switched their tools into speaking local languages. That means a local farmer just needs to have a smartphone and gets advised on if your cow is showing this and that symptoms, just get to know you need to call the vet. If your farm produce is at this level and it's not doing well, how do you package it and sell it? How do we start exporting our raw materials and stop being just consumers of goods? And we have a lot of raw materials within the continent. So we've seen a lot of that that's happening. In the education space, we have a lot of AI applications that are currently, I've lost count on how many youngsters have come up with apps that they're using, especially to advance and to ensure you have like a personalized tutor. So these are AI-driven tools that are assisting teachers and learners. With teachers, there's lesson planning, there's admin work, which is improving education at a very fast rate. And then, of course, we've developed a lot of books. I run a publishing company, and I think since AI on my book number 10, which I do like children's books for them to understand the use of AI tools. I do a lot of books on artificial intelligence, coding, robotics, and these are they're workbooks, which is very personalized to suit the African child, to suit a particular demographic within the continent. Then, of course, healthcare, which I'll leave this for Dr. Ras, because I'm sure he would love to talk about this, and Dr. Gladys. There's a lot we're doing within the healthcare space. As you see it right now, we've moved into razor. We're not so much doing surgery. We have a lot of that technology that's happening within the continent, especially with the research sector, with cancer, and all these other terminal illnesses that have been quite a pain. Our HIV status, so many tools that are automating the process. Then we also have come up with our AI strategies, which literally every country, which we have African Union that's championing that. They're coming up with strategies that they're rolling out and looking at how can we position ourselves extremely well. Then we have global collaborations. We are collaborating pretty well with Global North and all the other big guns that are very much well positioned within the tech space. If you check it out online, you'll see like literally every month we have a huge workshop happening somewhere within the continent, specifically addressing AI and advancements and how we can economically empower our youth and ensure that they're able to take advantage of the wave. I hope that answers. This is a topic I can talk for the entire day, but we have other speakers.
Ms. Kim, I just wanted to jump in and mention another very important one. And this is in the financial services space. We find that Africa is making great strides in promoting financial inclusion and making sure that your remote and rural populations also have access to financial services. So they may not be, they cannot access, for example, banking services by walking into a brick and mortar space, but certainly can receive money from relatives, etc., pay salaries through the establishment or the development of wallets. So that is also, improving at a very fast rate. And we find that there are a lot more people who are now able to enjoy financial services. So just another one to add on to Ms. Kim's long list of achievements on the African continent. Thank you.
I want to add one other thing to that as well, if it's okay. The other thing is also, from the outsourcing perspective, and how, thanks to the gig platforms such as Fiverr, for example, a lot of these the brilliance that is actually there within the continent is really being highlighted, and a lot of usage is coming out of that. And there is a lot of outsourcing going on right now due to the visibility of that. Yes, in some areas there are still some challenges of the access to electricity and power, and access to tools and so on. But for a huge portion of it, you see a lot of the outsourcing going out to the continent as well, for the need of for the technology professions, if you will, whether it's in design or creation, or website design, and so on and so on. I just wanted to add that to that as well, to Ms. Kim's list.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Yo-Yo. Anybody would like to add something else? And I'm so happy you mentioned fintech, because I think we've done extremely well in the fintech space. For those who know M-Pesa, that was a groundbreaking platform, which is now like 20 years plus. It's one of our biggest prides in Africa, and how this has become a whole huge industry on its own that has changed the livelihoods of many small scale farmers and many small scale business people. Because from the touch of your phone, we started way back. The transfer, the fintech space coming up with wallets, making it super easy to transfer and access cash. Yeah, so I don't know. That's mobile money, and there's so many other tools now in fintech space. We are doing extremely well. Thank you. Unless somebody has something to add, I'm going to pass the
Ms.
mic to
Kim,
Gregory.
Ms. Kim, just real quickly, if you add to that as well, the ag tech, so agricultural technology, tied into the fintech, will now open up a lot of those rural spaces and what's going on there. Because as we know, when we talk about it, the Happiness Tribe, that all of this technology and AI needs to be built on something physical. And that physical thing comes from nature, natural minerals, right? So when we think about the real complete value chain of AI and the future, it starts again with the earth and the minerals. That's the continent of Africa is a source in the beginning of AI technology. If you think about it from that point, you think about whatever chips that we need to build all the smart materials. It has to come from somewhere. So if we understand that, and then how that goes into production and then into retail and then use, understand the whole value chain of what we're talking about here. That's how the South can come into play. And then as we see with the youth taking advantage of learning digital skills and free education now, we're in the information era where education or information is widely available. You can train or teach yourself to a collegiate level independently, right? It's just that you're missing that network and some of the professional development. So the kids understand that, and they're able to utilize these skills in these classes and do a lot of virtual jobs, right? It's just trying to balance that economy now and a difference in the economy with that fintech. The other thing I wanted to say on the side of neurodiversity is there's two things. It's precision. You have precision medicine, right? Which is basically you can be more now precise with AI, understanding patterns and being able to do things on the biomedical side. So that and then personalize, being able to personalize your medicine. So not only making it more specific, but also personalize it to the individual. And we're understanding that in the cognitive sense as well. There's so much to go into. That's a whole nother show. But yes, thank you for that question. And I will relinquish the mic from here.
Thank you, Dr. Russ. I hope you're happy with the response. David?
Sorry, I laugh because happy is an understatement. That was just a beautiful tapestry between the panel. Just a like I said, beautiful. Just hearing the power that's going on in Africa and hearing about the neurodiversity. Again, it's just been a great conversation. And Yes, happy is an understatement. I'll yield the mic there. Blessings be to everybody.
Thank you. So I think the next person is Gregory. Gregory, the mic is yours.
Hello. All on this AI is, I just want to put this out here, is that AI is being used as a crutch, not as a tool, especially in recruiting. sorry about sorry for the coughing attacks here. I feel that it is starting to become more of a crutch rather than a tool. And the reason I will say this is that in terms of recruiting, you see all these types of AI bots and stuff. And to counter that for people like me, who is basically an applicant, have to basically counter that with an AI bot source, or with ChatGPT or any of these other clones or any of these types of stuff. And we have lost the human in terms of the human resources element in HR totally, to the point that I will say I was on a video call Fridays with Lauren Sherman, who is a recruiter, and he had a guest by the name of Adam, and he says that it's going to become like bots versus bots, and it's going to break the system to the point that we are going to get back to human like recruiting, human friendly type of recruiting, because we basically damaged the whole entire system, and nobody is virtually saying this out loud rather than me. And I think that I will say in this regard, because it is marginalizes people who are neurodiverse, like yours truly, in the recruiting space, that we have to literally tailor our resume to a certain way, have these type of X, Y, and Z type of keywords and phrases before we see an actual human being, which I have a video source that neurodivergent applications and resumes are much more different than the traditional resume itself. And that's something that I will say a lot of AI programs is not catching on, and it's basically killing people who are not in that literal sense, but it's really hurting neurodivergent or neurotypical candidates and stuff. So yeah.
Thank you, Gregory. Can I just say, this is the exact reason why, we want to open up the floor to the audience, because we want to hear real stories. Because even as a researcher and an educator on my side, I have to deal with this thing on, say, the healthcare side, right? Or the finance side, and hearing what you just said. And I see it, but hearing it, man, I really appreciate you being open and speaking it that way, because that point of view is very important. You're the access point, and I think we have something. I'll have Mr. Camp Michael talk a little bit about HTPs, human touch points, but to get to that exact point is something that we've tried to address from the beginning to the end, the interaction with this type of or any technology. But thank you for that. That was a great point of view, Gregory.
I have a question for Gregory. This is Paula. Gregory,
Shoot your shot.
Did I hear you say that AI is now creating structural unemployment within the recruiting space? And if that is indeed the case, is there a case to be made for AI being part of the solution as well? Just a general question. Thank you. Gregory, did you hear me? Can
Yeah,
you all
sorry.
hear me?
Yeah, sorry. I had myself on mute. Sorry about that. In my general experience and retrofacts, it is starting to become. There is a. I can't recall there was a movie called. There was a video or a movie or a documentary in regards to AI in regards to personalized testing. And I can't recall the title of the film. But in this film, there was basically AI type of testing on people who are marginally diverse, such as people of color and people with disabilities and stuff. And they were basically uberly being screened out of a lot of employment type of issues, employment opportunities. In my view, AI can be a solution in some retrospects, but when it comes in terms of employment type of issues, such as people who are neurodiverse or neurotypical, and overall people who are persons with disabilities here in Canada, that there is a 20% difference between in terms of the employment rate of a able-bodied person compared to a person who has one disability. And I think it is 80% who is able-bodied and no disability compared to a employment participation rate of 60% of a person who has one disability. Those type of people are not being screened in with the corresponding ATS systems and or recruiting type of systems that are now being installed, which has a lot of components in terms of AI, which is basically making, I will say, the workplace not diverse, not being neurotypical open in that type of way, shape, or form. And it's and I will say that this is the type of stuff that I will say that leaders, I will say recruiters, such as, I will say, I'm just going by what I'm seeing on the headlines here. Gracie T, you should be, I will say, championing this type of stuff that should not be done to people who are neurotypical, neurodiverse, or anybody who is a recruiting specialist or a VP of HR or a recruiter that should not be subjecting a neurotypical person, such as yours truly, to a traditional hiring methods, which is basically a heavy dose or set of HI parameters and procedures and stuff. So I hope I answered your question, Paula.
Yes, you did. Thank you. We're going to need a part 3 for this, but thank you. I appreciate it. I yield the mic.
Yes, let me just quickly respond. Thank you, Gregory. I appreciate your input. And in every aspect of the HR process, DEI is an ongoing struggle that needs to be addressed on consistent basis, right? And recruiting being the forefront of all of it, because we are the ones who deal with people and bring in people initially. So I'm 100% with you on that. And DEI comes in all its forms. And when it comes down to AI and DEI, I'm a fan of a lady called Timney Gebru, who called out Google for its bias implementation, bias characters of the AI process. And there was a huge news on that, which just shows really it's about what we enter and ask of, the information we feed into AI, and not AI itself that is biased. At the end of the day, DEI is still up to humans and people. Now, I have to say, in my past 10 years of experience in recruiting, when we look at a resume, we do not necessarily see any of the DEI aspects. What we do see is, if there is a picture, we will see that, obviously. But other than that, if you have a resume and you don't consider looking at any of the social media initially, right? Based on your resume, it's just black and white, whatever is on that resume. And, it doesn't, regardless of our backgrounds, that resume has to reflect what this position requires. So we will be basing the decision on the best fit for this, at any good recruiter would anyways, base it on the qualification what we have on the resume, which is, again, brings to the forefront how important resume building is, because it has to speak to the position, not the personal things of the personal aspect come in when you actually get a chance to speak to somebody. And yes, there is a filtering process now that is way more sophisticated as than it was prior to, before we had to filter and source manually. Now we have a filtering system through the AI system, for most companies that will filter for us. So, and it's, again, going to be filtering on keywords and based on the resume. And I think I just want to highlight to, do your best to try to get that resume, that paper that you will be submitting in, as accurate as possible when it comes down matching that position, right? And reflecting your skills and your abilities in that way. I hope that helps.
Grace?
DEI is not fully erased, obviously, and that affects many people from different
okay,
spectrums.
Grace. Okay, Grace, then I have one question for you then. This is a very, very important question then. Then why is on every single ATS platform that I actually see is that they're collecting DEI data on your application to signify if you're a person who is a visible minority or a person with disability? Because if that information is not being if my resume is being fully looked at by what you just said right now, then all that DEI information that I'm basically putting on the ATS platform should also be captured. And if it is being captured, it should be viewed by people on the other side of the ATS platform. And if it's not looked at on the other side of the ATS platform, that is a mistravesty in recruiting justice in that case and format, Grace, with all due respect.
Yeah. So those information, number one, are optional. And number two, they are actually used for other reasons, not necessarily for the recruiting process. And recruiters generally don't have access to that. And especially, and I cannot speak for every organization. However, generally speaking, that information is actually not shown to us just for the simple purpose to also protect the applicant. So we are not becoming biased based on any information that we may receive from that. So those informations that are collected by ATSs are not part of the recruiting process. It's more of the HR process for other purposes that I won't get into here now because we don't have the time for it, but it's not accessible to recruiters and recruiting process.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Gregory. I just want to say that I recently served on a hiring committee at the college where I'm employed. And like Grace was saying, we were looking for specific skill sets. I'm in the science department. And so we were looking at, we actually filtered the applications ourselves. I'm sure AI is going to be implemented at some point, and it may have been. But however, we wanted to make sure they had a certain number of credit hours in a particular area. And then we filtered out from there. If they did not have that, then we say, okay, they're not a candidate. And then those who did have it, we looked at, and then we started looking at other areas to make sure they qualified in all the other areas. But that was the first component that we were looking for. So I just want to say, that I definitely understand what you're saying about AI, because even I think it was Amazon, was caught, it all has to do with who's putting in the data. And I think what you're bringing to the forefront is very important, because we need representation so that we can be very inclusive. I'm big on inclusion, because the truth is, the AI system, they're often trained on data that may reflect existing societal biases. So I definitely get what you're saying. But, I'm just, concurring with what Grace was saying. And I just recently had that experience, and that's how we did it. However, I'm not discounting what you're saying, because I'm sure it does exist. I just gave you an example, like with Amazon. So, but I think the representation is important. And I think as we're going through this process, and this being brought to the forefront, people are going to start realizing that they have to be more inclusive, because that could possibly lead to some type of lawsuit. That's what I'm thinking, because we don't have all of the regulations and the procedures in place. This is something new. However, I understand where you're coming from. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, I want to also say that it's not that I don't understand where you're coming from, Gregory. I'm just trying to explain the process. And in addition to that, some of that information is not initially collected to just specifically also protect the integrity of the AI, so people are not discriminated against. And at the same time, on the back end, the organization can actually see if they are being compliant with that process. Now, again, that is up to organizations, and they do it all differently. But that's the back end of that questionnaire that you see often.
Thank you so much, Ms. Grace. That's an excellent response. For the interest in time, we'd like to give the mic to Dr. Ron M. Dr. Ron M., you have the microphone. Sir?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you now. Thank you for your patience.
No problem. Good day to everybody. My background is in trust. My research background is in trust, connected world. So my question revolves around the bias in the training data used to train the large language model, and how can this be addressed so we can get information out of it that's not biased to whatever degree?
I think Dr. Roz would be the best person to answer that question. However, I would like to say that implicit bias is really a human effect, and it permeates everything that we do, including the parameters that we set in terms of large language models. When we're setting parameters for whatever it is that we're doing, implicit bias is part of the human condition. However, I'm sure there's some other variables that may go into that. Dr. Roz, can you pick up from where I'm leaving off and answer the question, or at least address it? Thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you, Ms. Paula, and thank you, Dr. Ron, for that question. And I think the answer is simpler than the technology. And the answer is education to inclusion. You educate yourself to be included and be a part of. Now, there's a front end and a back end to the technology, like there's an input and an output. And so if you're just on a user end, you're going to be subject to whatever's created. However, if you educate yourself and become a creator, then you have contributions into what is being created. And that's how we better deal with these biases. And the thing is to understand what this is. Preferences and biases aren't innately bad, like discrimination, right? Like these things in context are important. Like you know, if you're standing in the street and a vehicle is coming, you have to make a decision, or, you know, there are preferences and discriminations for things which are needed. but it's in the context that it's used. So my short answer to that is to become part of the solution, to become a creator and understanding what this is.
Thank you, Dr. Roz. And I'd like to add just one thing before we allow Dr. Ayo to hold the mic, is there's also the opportunity for advocacy, right? So we are not disempowered on any level, as individuals, as a group, as we attain this information and we understand how this process works and where the implicit biases are or the pitfalls are. We need to be able to stand in the gap as well and speak to those disadvantages and to advocate for changes in those positions and in those programs as well. I'll yield the mic. Dr. Ayo, you have the microphone. Thank you for being here with us.
It is really actually my pleasure. What a wonderful program. I truly enjoyed it. Thank you so much for hosting this. That was really epic. I just want to piggyback on Dr. Ross. I think it is very important because I'm coming from STEM field, education and career. It is important that our community, that is the BIPOC community. I love to call them the BIPOC community, the Blacks, the indigenous, people of color. And now we add, the LGBTP, groups and the women and the immigrants. It is really important that we be part of, innovation and encouraging. Our community need to encourage our involvement in the STEM field. Extremely important. We talk about bias. The best way for us to stomp out bias, unfortunately, there's going to be bias. You have to understand, like many of the panelists have already articulated, somebody has to input that data. But when your group is not represented or skilled in inputting or programming, teaching the AI what to do, then what happens is you see a lot of problem with bias. So I'm coming from this perspective by saying, and this is a call to action, because there is no reason why our numbers, representation in the STEM field is pretty low. There is no reason why. Our representation in sports is very, very high. So our representation in the service area is very, very high. But what about in science? What about in technology? What about engineering? The good news is in arts, our representation it's really high. But our representation in mathematics is very low. Our representation on research, just like Dr. Rice had mentioned before, it's extremely high. Our representation in literacy, reading and writing, is extremely low. So what do? We have to encourage all our youth. Maybe it's too late for the older generation, but for the younger generation, there has to be a groundswell in our communities, our elders, our community leaders, right? All this group coming together, encouraging involvement, so that in a great technology like this, our community can be represented and our community should not be left behind. The last point that I would like to make is we know about the use of AI to identify people through, their facial recognition. Well, we know about the bias that has been there. Well, why do we have that bias? It's because our people are missing, and there has to be a representation in these groups so that all things can be. The bias can be limited, and we can be part of the innovation. Thank you so much for the floor. I appreciate you. Good program today.
Dr. Ayo, you're not let off the hook yet. You
Yes,
have
sir.
to, my brother, speak about the cultural importance and significance of integrating knowledge and ancestral knowledge within the educational space. And please let us know where you at and what do you do. Please just promote yourself. This is your space as well, brother.
Oh yeah, so I am fortunate. I'm not representing my organization. My thoughts are my thoughts. It's not for my organization. But being an educator, one of the things that I try to do, it's well, the good news about my community, my school, is it is very, very diverse. It's very, very diverse. So we've got a lot of immigrants, we've got a lot of Hispanic students, we've got a lot of African American students. So we have students from different variety of different background. So it's extremely important in when we are teaching. I'll take, for example, in my science class, and somebody mentioned technology using a simple cell phone. I know this is not a best practice, but a simple thing like utilizing uh, the uh, the language or bilanguage program on Google uh, to encourage the students that are limited, that are English is not really English is challenged, having them translate from going back and forth or using that ability to translate maybe the questions or maybe the reading or maybe the assignment is it can be very powerful. And at the same time, being a teacher, celebrating their cultural background and making sure that the class is, respect the cultural differences is extremely important. So integrating culture and respecting and letting other people know the importance the students know the importance of culture, and that every student have a unique perspective, to bring to table. And the other thing that my school actually does is recognize celebrating cultural heritage. Now, we recently had one whereby we celebrate the Hispanic cultural heritage. That is a very, very big deal. We have clubs for students that are gay or lesbian or transgender. So this is another way in which we encourage a different perspective within our classroom. But it is important that somebody mentioned DEI, that we encourage diversity and inclusion within any organization. And as I've written before, I think certain organizations are losing money because who will be in a better way to make a company profitable than someone with a different, uh, background. For example, if I want to, if I am into clothing or design, clothing design, and then I want to appeal and I want to, market my product in Africa, I think it would be great for me to hire someone who is a fashion designer from the African perspective or from the African American perspective. I think we're missing out on opportunities, in my view. And the last point that I would like to make is utilizing AI in writing. I've been doing a lot of research on this, and this is really impressive. You can actually program prompt AI to integrate whatever cultural ideas that you may want to integrate into your writing. Do you know that? The only thing that is most important is you have to interact with the AI, with ChatGPT. You cannot just let ChatGPT do the writing for you. You have to start with the initial or the seed concept, and then let the AI do research for you. It could be that you're interested in perspective from the Yoruba land. Let's talk about democracy. If I want to write a book on democracy, well, I want to know if my argument is the United States is not the only democracy, or if I want to argue that Africa has been practicing democracy for ages, then AI can actually help you do the research and retrieving information that is relevant. The only thing is, you, as an individual that is writing, you have to vet this. Extremely important. So there are opportunities within our grasp, but the idea is seizing it up, using it and integrating it and letting it be part of our language. And if we do all this, I think I think we as a community will innovate, and we as a community will grow. I know I'm long-winded. I have a lot of ideas and a lot of thought. I recently posted an article, a post on LinkedIn, and it has to do with different innovative platforms that are out there. There are 10 platforms that are actually relevant, that are really bustling at this point. But the thing is, 3 of them are converging. And the 3 that are really converging is, of course, about the AI. Now it's been integrated in almost every organization. The other is, of course, the robotics, right? That is, we've never seen a time like this. It's kind of like in the early 1900s, when electricity and the concept of electricity and communication came together. We're starting to see this. And as an educator, as a researcher, I would like to invite you and encourage you. Utilize AI, the key, the power to that is the application and integration. It could be integration in pharmaceuticals, as you've said, and that is actually a really great area for Africa. I think African countries and organizations should really consider that. I think that could be a game changer. It could be, AI and farming. I believe that could be a really great changer. So integrating this platform, this innovation to solve problems, that is the key. So that's my thought. I hope I answered your question, Dr. Raz.
Yes, thank you. You did answer my question, and within answering that question, I'd like to put a challenge out, because you mentioned about Chat GPT and being able to just, really engage yourself. And what I challenge and put a call to action to the audiences in support of our sister there, Erin Reddick, to really check out. I want you to do an exercise or activity in Chat GPT, but then check out Chat Black GPT, right? Which is has been trained with some cultural relevance. And I want you to see and compare the differences and do your own investigation yourself and see what you come up with that type of understanding of the difference of training an AI technology or software that you interact with that's been trained with culturally sensitive information. So you can really put this into practice or test it yourself. So thank you for that, Dr. Ayo. Welcome to the stage, Henry. How are you today?
Henry, we can't hear you. Oh, we lost Mr. Henry. I'd like to push back, Dr. Ayo. Thank you so much for your statement and for your input. The only thing I'd like to push back on is the concept that us older people is too late for us. Quite on the contrary, I'm finding that my wisdom and my experience can be additionally leveraged to younger generations through the use of AI, through AI application, in terms of knowledge transferred to the other generations, to the younger generation. So I'm pushing back on that because I'm the old lady in the room, and I'd like all of us. It would behoove us as elders to be able to see our role and to amplify our role and our impact and the knowledge that we've worked so hard to attain. We can do that quite effectively with the use and the proper application of AI technology. So I will rest my case there. Dr. Roz, Miss Sally, you all have the mic. Thank you.
That's a
We sorry, Dr. Ross, you can go first.
no, go, Miss Kim, but that's a great point. And this is why we will have a separation. We'll have the young folks next week. So please respect us older folks this week. Thank you for that, Miss Paula. Go ahead, Miss Kim.
Yeah, thank you. Great points, great ideas. I think we need to have this conversation more often. In the interest of time, which thank you very, very much for your patience. We usually close 5:30, and I see it's 6 p.m. So we are half an hour over time, past our time. This is great. I think we're learning a lot. And I call out just to emphasize on the challenge Dr. Ras is talking about. Just begin, just do it. You learn, you navigate along the way. And please send us messages. We're working on workshops. We will be training. We will be having like a 3-hour session workshop or a virtual workshop. We do in-person training sessions, but this time we're planning series of virtual workshops so we can have a one-on-one and help you navigate the platforms, come up with specific use cases. And I mean, it doesn't really matter what profession you are in. We all use these tools, but then show you how can you customize it to specifically help you solve the problems you're dealing with, make you sort of fit in well within your job. So and much more. I love emphasizing on us using AI to make money. You might find you're able to start your side hustle, you're generating some extra income. There's so much you can do as we carry on with this wave of, yes, jobs are getting compromised, but a lot of jobs are getting created as well. Every day, jobs are getting created. I think 2-3 years ago, prompt engineering was not a thing. Now, and just like all those conversations on what's garbage in, garbage out, it's how you train your model. It's what you feed it. Of course, yes, there's a lot to be applied. We need to be more ethical, but I've seen it because I sometimes I can be philosophical and controversial. My political ideologies. Sometimes I'll ask questions and ChatGPT will tell me, no, we're not going to talk about this, and I respect that. I can give you feedback on this, or no, this is too controversial. No, there's a way, there's some decorum sometimes you see with these platforms, which is much appreciated. I think, Dr. Henry, I'm just going to give you a minute so we close the room. I think we have Leonard. And so, Dr. Henry, Mr. Henry, I hope you're on now. And Judy, 1 minute, so we stop keeping people. But please note, as we start closing down, engage with the person you're seeing next to you. Within the Happiness Tribe, we have such a strong emphasis. This is a tribe, and we want to remain as a tribe. Let's connect, let's network. Could you be looking for a job or you're looking for someone to hire? Put it on the comment section. Then we share it within our communities. So please don't leave the room before you check on who is next to you. This is the easiest way of networking. I mean, we've all seen the power of collaborating on these platforms. And somebody is not on mute. Ronald, could you please mute? And then Henry, please take the mic.
Yes, I would like to say something. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, my name is Ronald Botello, and I'm a PhD student in complex systems at SUNY Binghamton University in New York. And I like to say that I enjoy this interdisciplinary group being put together. It reminds me of the Macy conferences of the 1940s, in which Dr. Shannon, Werner, Kaufman, Ashby get together, a lot of disciplines to collaborate on the issues of the day. And the issues of the day in those days were on World War II, finding answers to parry the Axis powers. But I've been listening to this group today, and I hear a lot of skepticism about the use of AI, and different countries' participation in using AI. And I have to note that according to Tortoise's global index of countries that invest in AI and in AI integrative generation, Africa is on the lowest edge of the spectrum. And I think I know an answer to that. The reason why Africa may be on the lower edge of contributing or at least adopting AI is because of its demographics. The demographics in Africa are skewed. There's a lot of young, unemployed, easily swayable individuals who turn to terrorism for a number of reasons. They are persuaded by disinformation and where am I going with this? I just lost my train of thought, but I think you all know where I'm going with this. That AI should be adopted for its uses, for its profound uses in an interdisciplinary way. And this group represents, like I said, like the Macy conferences of the 1940s, where we have subject matter experts convened in one place, speaking collaboratively about a subject that's very, very important. And if any of you have listened to Jamie Metzl on superconvergence, he talks about how genetics, biotech, and AI revolutions will transform our lives, work, and the world. AI is not your enemy. It's your friend if used properly. And with respect to training models, in the large language machine training models I'm referring to, we must try to eliminate our own biasness. And the way that we do that is by using the Internet of all things, IoT. The IoT is a very useful tool in training your large language models. And if we can learn to adapt that and I can't say erase all the biasness, but if we learn how to use the internet properly, we can train our models with less bias and achieve the things that we all want. And that is to use AI in a prolific, responsible, governing manner. But in order to do that, we have to understand the dynamics of AI.
Yes, Mr. Ronald, I like your points and would love to host you, because there are days that we have conversations that are specifically addressing technology in Africa and advancement. I'll just quickly want to point out, because I get a lot of people sending me messages on we need to close the room. I'd love to just emphasize on it's I don't find it realistic when we compare Africa with the rest of the world, looking at all the other challenges that we've had. Let's not forget, Africa is a very young continent. We've gone through colonization. We are still going through exploitation of our resources. It's been happening for ages.
Yeah.
And we have a legacy of underdevelopment, which it's still We don't want to just keep crying, but it's a contributor. Neocolonialism is still going on, and there's a lot of global influence. So when you talk about terrorism in Africa, it's not our children in Africa. You know this. I saw you in the army, so you understand everything that happens behind the closed door. By the time we're getting guns dropped into Africa and a lot of just weird stuff that happens, which we don't want to discuss it on this. We have youth with great potential, and we have so much appreciation for what we are doing and where we are. We could do better, and we're working extremely hard to see to it. But I think expecting Africa to be where the rest of the world is, it's pushing the button, baby steps.
Well, I don't disagree with you on that point. But I think someone mentioned STEM disciplines.
Yeah.
If we can introduce STEM disciplines from pre-K through the university level to our students in Africa, that will complement, not take away from Africa's greatness.
You're right. You're right. I'm extremely well traveled across the globe. Maybe very few spaces I've not been to. And we do some very clear comparative analysis on what's going on. There's obviously some serious challenges we have within the continent. But if you think about the guys who are still engineering all these tools, the chat GPTs, it's a lot of brain drain. You look at them, there are a lot of children from Africa, and some of these tools are actually created right within the continent. And also this media that just shows how needy we are and how much help we need. I would invite you and everyone else to come to the continent, and I think you'll have a deeper appreciation of where the continent is and what we're doing. Thank you so much, Ronald. I think we have Judy. Judy, Henry, if your mic is ready, please just let's give you 1 minute. Judy, 1 minute. We close the room, but we just know the Happiness Tribe happens every Sunday at 4 p.m.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we're happy to host you again. Thank you.
And there's
Henry,
a part two. There's a part two next Sunday.
Same topic next Sunday.
Thank you so much, team. I'll make this very brief. So I am tuning with my pen because I'm actually here absorbing what the different perspective on AI as I'm presenting at two conferences, one in Germany and one in Dubai. And I just wanted, if you could take some time after just to message me. I just wanted to, when I think about strategies and resources that we find engaging for curriculum from the education standpoint of AI and AI literacy, I wanted to find out from what are some of the need do you see in the school? Of course, we know the basic ones. The basic ones are thought processes behind teachers and educators being aware of the positive use of how to harness AI. We also know that we have lack of resources in some other areas. Those are covered. But I want, as we have this discussion, if you have any thoughts of what I could incorporate in these two presentations, because I am not here to, when I present at conferences, is not for a show. It's always to what are the mindsets that we want to change, as many of our fellow participants said this evening about, different perspectives and mindsets surrounding AI and what is needed. So if any new thoughts that you think I should concentrate on, whether it may be testing constraints or whether it may be meeting the diverse needs when it comes to an audience of parents and in an educated space, what are some of the issues behind AI that needs to be addressed from an education point of view? So we don't have the time now, so if you could just send me a note on and let me know your thoughts. I welcome them because I'm doing research at the moment and I would love to hear. One of the conferences on the 12th and one is in January in Germany. So I would love some varying perspectives of what needs to be addressed because it's such a wide topic.
I think, hello, Judy, this is Dr. Ross, and I think I could narrow that down a bit to before, where the technology and everything we're talking about creates precision and personalization. However, that's balanced by an ability then to discriminate.
Definitely. And so I've sent in the topic, but normally the topics are AI and media literacy, but I always, and I wrote down your point real quickly because I want to just make sure that in this, it's always a point where we educate to change mindset. So I appreciate that.
Thank you for the question and the engagement, as well as the rest of
And
the.
here's another one, Judy. Cultural. Yes, thank you so much. But I want to add cultural competence is the major component. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This was quite educational, and we were fed. May you all be blessed and have a blessed week.
Thank you, Judy, and thank you, everyone. Thank you for your patience, our listeners. See you next Sunday, same time, same space. Dr. Gladys, you've been very quiet today. Would you like to close the room for us with your closing remarks? Thank you.
Kim,
and goodbye.
Well, actually, Henry hasn't had a chance to speak. Henry, would you like to speak?
Can you hear me?
Oh, sorry, Henry. Yes, please. Thank you.
For the sake of the integrity of the room, I'll defer my testimony till the next time that you folks talk about this topic, and hopefully you can sense a deep need to. We'll probably all be talking about this as humans for as long as AI machines exist. So I'll wait for then. I'm going to mute.
You got to feed me something, Henry. I'm going to need something. Come on now.
I felt like
something. What's going on?
I was about to say, Henry, we can spare 2 minutes for you. Please just say it.
Okay, just one really quick share. I'm a cancer immunotherapy physician, and I'm part of a group of scientists in a nonprofit service organization in DC. And our mission is to upgrade the connection between physicians and patients in the US. The level of trust and other issues is just a real mess right now. AI is at the heart of it. I'll just give you one simple example that affects everybody's life right now. It relates to this issue, the issue of both ethics and inclusion and discrimination and bias. So we have this game that we play in medicine in the US where when you go to your doctor for really anything, they're going to have to ask for approval from some kind of insurance system to move forward. And there are people in that system that are playing with AI machines and monitoring all of the conversations between the doctors and the insurance companies. By the way, many of these people I'm describing are doctors themselves. They're part, going back to your education mission, they're actually the fruits of the STEM education system. And what they do is this: they monitor what happens when they use AI machines to automatically refuse the request of a physician to go forward with the treatment. And it's set at a certain level, like they're going to just refuse 5%. And then they monitor to see what the economic impact of the organization is. On a very regular basis, what these groups do is they'll decide, we aren't getting much pushback on this. We're not getting very much appeals to this negative decision that's made by an AI machine. Let's set the refusal rate up to 10% and see what happens. And if that would work, they could make billions of dollars in a matter of months. This isn't a theory. This is happening every day right now. Our goal is to let people know about this. And going back to what's been said many times, AI machines are just clever machines that think really fast, know how to manipulate words at incredible skill. And like a bag of knives, they can be good for rough stuff or good stuff. And it's going to be up to us to always sort that out, as many have said. And so now I'm going to mute my mic. That's it.
Thank you for that. I needed that. Thank you so much. Dr. Stevenson Perez, and we will so gladly welcome you at the next show.
Well, just one thing, we never, in our group, we believe in total equality, particularly on bleeding edge issues like the one we're talking about now. We surely don't think the physicians know more than patients, so we don't use titles. Please, I'm sorry for interrupting, but I just wanted to clarify that.
Well, thanks, Henry. We really appreciate and look forward to you being back here with the Happiness Tribe for next week of AI Literacy When Reality Bites, Part 2. Ms. Kim, would you like to close us out?
I think we need Dr. Gladys' voice. She's been quiet. Or Henry. Oh, sorry, or Selassie. And apologies, Henry, I called you doctor. I think soon we need to have a podcast on this conversation because it's sort of super controversial on this title thing. But yeah, I see you're Henry. But you also had an emphasis on I'm a doctor, especially as in Africa. It's taken on another way if someone is a doctor and you don't address that person as a doctor. And I associate to what it takes us to be doctors. And I feel they should be acknowledged and called doctors. Okay. Selassie or Dr. Gladys, who's going to take it away? Thank you.
Go ahead, Selassie.
Yeah. Okay, today I've had a bad day with LinkedIn. I mean, I'm always kick off. And I get kick off, then probably have to really, get in again. But I really enjoyed the show. But I wanted to share a very nice, funny story over here. Uh, over here, in my office, there is a man who is about 56 years old. He came to me and he asked me. He learned they've brought a machine that probably when he comes to work, he has to really clock in. And I told him, yes, he's there in the office. He really got annoyed and he said, hey, you guys don't bring this kind of AI and this computer stuff into the office because he is not used to the AI. And honestly speaking, the following week they destroyed the machine. Anytime they bring such machines, people really destroy this machine. People who are in the olden age, let's say 56, 57 and above, they are not really IT friendly. They really hate to hear things about IT, AI, and stuff over here. And sometimes you hear people saying, "Hey, if you start deploying this kind of system to the office, they will destroy it because they don't really they don't want to be replaced by AI." So over here, honestly speaking, is a very funny experience. Some people don't want to embrace AI because they feel it's really going to take their jobs.
Interesting perspective. Thank you. Thank you, Selassie, for sharing that. Dr. Gladys, do you want to close the room for us?
Yeah, well, I'll just say that, the reason why, one of the reasons we're having the conversation is because I had mentioned how I have some, associates or friends, if you may, that actually have jobs that are really, they're obsolete and they are in their 50s. And actually, a couple of them have already lost their job to AI because they did not want to upskill. I have a friend who's in her 50s. Let me just mention this, and she's going back to school for computer science because she realizes that she wants to have more opportunities. So I really find that in these situations, it has to do with the mindset. You have to dig in, like someone said earlier. You have to just dive in and do it. If you're playing with your telephone, a lot of people don't realize they're already using AI. So I just think that as we age, we just have to be more flexible and pliable. Even if we have limitations, there's still things we can do. What I'm in the education sector, so I do virtual reality. Believe it or not, I have students that are in their 20s that are afraid of virtual reality. It's just amazing. So it's not just older people. I'm in that category of older people. It's younger people as well, because I'm teaching virtual reality. I'm teaching piloting drones. And it's amazing to me, I'm finding that a lot of people are just not paying attention. They're just trying to go through life as if, nothing has changed until they hit that wall and say, oh, hold up. I couldn't believe that a friend of mine who